20 annual sessions of People's Consultative Assembly under strict COVID-19 health protocol. Good afternoon, viewers in Indonesia and Singapore. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of informations from business, economic, and capital market sectors. With me, Claranta Wijaya, and this is Market Headlines. And yes, viewers, we are going to start market headlines by looking at the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement. So JCI opened at level of 5,226.96, and then approaching the closing time of the first session, the index is on level of 5,238.35, and the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session closing time, as the index was closed at the level of 5,247.69, and in short, JCI was strengthening at 0.16%. And next we are going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's trading, here it is. We got trade as the leader of the strengthening, and mining going up 0.95%. Consumer goods that going up 0.58%. And meantime, as the leader of the weakening trade, we got trade that going down 1.12%, and also constructions that contracted by 0.75%. And next, as the top gainers in today's trading, here it is, this stock for you. We got BBCA with the value that went up 1.67%. We got KAEF with the value that went up 2.76%. And we got MDKA with the value that went up 2.26%. And Antam with the value that went up 1.95%. Meantime, for the top losers of today's trading, here's the list of the stock for you as well. We got MNCN with a value that is contracted by 6.88%. We got BBNI with a value that went down 1.48%. And then we got UNTR with a value that went down 0.97%. And EXCL with a value that went down 2.3%. And next, we are going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. So rupiah opened at level of 14,917. Rupiah was also showing strengthening trend towards US dollar. I was closed at level of 14,738. And in summary, rupiah was strengthening at 0.42%. Meantime, the other SOE in construction sector, Wijaya Karya, is targeting to reach a new contract value of up to 18 trillion rupiah in the second half of 2020.
State-owned enterprise in construction sector, Wijaya Karya is targeting to reach a new contract value of up to 18 trillion rupiah in the second half of 2020. In detail, as many as 80% of the contracts will come from the government and SOE, while the rest will come from the private sector and foreign projects. Meanwhile, the total value of ongoing tender is 15 up to 16 trillion rupiah. The company is also still optimistic that there will be several more tenders that can be participated until the end of 2020. During the first semester of 2020, the company recorded new contract value of 3.4 trillion rupiah. This amount is far below the record in the same period in the previous year, which reached 15.23 trillion rupiah. Most of the contracts in the first semester came from precast concrete products. The next contributor comes from infrastructure projects. This includes the construction of roads, buildings, and so on. To pursue new contract targets in the second semester, Wijaya Karya will focus on projects that have a fast capital recycle. This is done in order to keep the company's liquidity and cash flow healthy. From all sources, IDX Channel.
The large share of domestic constructions market makes Adhikarya optimistic that the company will be able to reach a new contract value up to 27 trillion rupiah in the rest of 2020.
The large share of domestic construction market makes Adhikarya optimistic that a company will be able to reach a new contract value of up to 27 trillion rupiah in the rest of 2020. Finance Director of Adhikarya Agung Darmawan said that in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic, obtaining contracts is very challenging. Agung said that currently Adhikarya is undergoing a tender process for several projects and is waiting for the process of determining the winner. Based on project ownership, most of the tenders participated in were from government and SOE projects, although the portion of private projects was also relatively large. For now, Adhikarya is focusing on participating in domestic project tenders. The management stated that the current domestic construction market share is still quite large, with the development of the national strategic projects. However, Adhikarya does not have a policy to restrict project locations. The company will continue to participate in domestic and foreign project tenders. From all sources, IDX Channel.
Viewers, stay tuned on Market Headlines because we will be right back after this quick break.
Senang sekali saya di Pizza Ovo dan dapat hadir menemani Anda dalam program spesial dialog webinar on TV.
Setiap minggunya kita akan membahas tema-tema yang sangat menarik. Apa kabar ibu-ibu sekalian?
Alhamdulillah baik.
Salah satu ambisi daripada Kementerian Koperasi dan UMKM bersama Spesco adalah koperasi keren, baru, digital, gitu kan, yang kita bisa IT.
Corona diprediksi menekan pertumbuhan ekonomi berbagai negara dan membuat baja di pasar global alami oversupply. Krakatau Steel menyikapi ini seperti apa Pak Silmi?
Cara mengantisipasinya memberikan competitiveness pada industri baja nasional sehingga bisa berkompetisi dengan import.
Baik.
Terus kemudian juga importnya juga kita mesti selektif.
Ya.
Jangan import yang hal-hal yang sudah bisa dibuat di Indonesia.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. As one of the most affected sectors by COVID-19 pandemic, the hospitality sectors continue to strive to maintain business continuity, including capsule hotel business providers in Indonesia. And to find out how the dynamics of capsule hotel business during the pandemic, our reporter Fajar Wayong will provide a comprehensive information just for you.
Yes, viewers, as we know that hospitality industry, including hotels, is the most affected sectors by COVID-19 pandemic. So, how significant the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic to hotel industry? Let's find out the answer from one of the hotel industry players. Yes, viewers, since 2017, Bubble Box has been present in Indonesia by carrying out a unique concept, of course, a capsule hotel. Bubble Box prioritizing cleanliness, safety, and even technology. Bubble Box even claimed that every customers can manage their security only through a smartphone. So here it is.
Halo.
Hello, how are you?
Fajar. Good.
So sir, thanks for having me here in Bubble Box. So,
It's a
actually
pleasure.
wondering, Why finally Bobobox decided to browse the capsule hotel concept? What's the reason behind it?
Right, that's a very good question. So basically we find that in a very fast-paced modern lifestyle that we live in today, finding an affordable sleeping facility that offers great comfort and experience has become a true challenge. And we see that the demand for budget accommodation has increased significantly. That's what inspired us to build redefined accommodations through space efficiency and technology. So we come up with an idea to build the first tech-enabled and modular sleeping pod.
Who is actually the market segment of Bobobox?
Right, so 90% of our audience are millennials and younger, aging from 18 to 35 years old. We have both male and female audience.
After Bobobox launched its service in Indonesia, can you explain about the response, the market response?
Right, so we launched it back in 2018 and suddenly it all became viral. We became the most viral sleeping pods in Indonesia. So we've been growing organically. So we've been rolling out our pods in the past 2 years. Now we have 10 locations live. So the feedback has been really good. In fact, we're getting amazing tractions in the past 2 years. And I guess there is a good product market fit.
Beyond the market segment that you already told me, is there any significant traveler from foreign maybe, or
right.
Bobobox only depend on domestic tourists?
Right. Well, apparently 90% of our market are domestic. So we haven't really tapped into the international market. That is also another reason why we still can maintain a good occupancy rate even in the midst of this pandemic.
Okay. How was the occupancy rate before pandemic?
So before pandemic, we are getting an average of 80 to 90% occupancy rate. So yes, during March and April, it drops to 30-40%. But a lot of the sites still can maintain at 50% occupancy rate.
Okay,
Yeah.
Even if we are amidst pandemic, the occupancy rate is still well maintained?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not as good as 80 to 90%, but it still can sustain the operations. So the burning rate that we have is not as high as other hotel operators.
Besides occupancy rate, is there any significant difference between before pandemic and after pandemic?
Yes, before pandemic, most people are looking for accommodation based on pricing and strategic locations. But ever since the pandemic, people start questioning about safety, cleanliness. So now people are asking what are the safety protocols, whether we have additional measurement for that. So now cleanliness, safety has become #1 priority for our branches. So we have implemented additional safety protocols where everyone's getting body temperature check, and also we refine our technology. So now we offer contactless experience, so people can have a seamless access from when they're checking in, straight access to their pod.
Okay.
Yeah.
We know that the pandemic was occurred in March, and now we're in August.
Right.
In these 5 months,
Right.
what Bobobox see? Is there any possibility that the occupancy will go back to before pandemic, and maybe or Bobobox see this is really different with March or April?
So yes, apparently April was the lowest month for us because of the bulan Ramadan, as well as the PSBB, the lockdown period, right? So ever since May, when the government has lifted the PSBB, we can see an upward tractions. In fact, now we are at 70-80% occupancy, 80% before the pandemic COVID-19. The market is bouncing back a lot faster than we expected, so we're looking at a V-shaped recovery here.
What are the strategies that Bobobox has implemented to overcome the pandemic, to survive the pandemic, especially the business continuity amidst this condition?
Right. So #1 definitely will be the cleanliness, right? Because that will be the main concern of the whole audience. And then #2 would be the operating costs, right? Having technology integrations in our operating model allow us to cut down operating costs significantly. So we are a lot leaner than a lot of operating models that are in the market, right? And then number three, we keep on refining our product market fit. So during this pandemic, we see some new cases where we see people start staying for more than 1 or 2 days, right? So we see people who are staying for weeks and even for months. And so our creative team come up with creative campaigns where we sell long stay packages, and it's been selling really well during this pandemic.
What is actually your expectation or your hopes that amidst this pandemic?
Well, I mean, COVID-19 is a true lesson for many of us, right? Where cleanliness has always become the top priority, and now looking at how we are implementing all these protocols, we just want to assure all the audience that it is safe for us to travel again. But it is still very important to have self-awareness, where we still need to wear masks, make sure we keep the physical distancing. That's very, very important. As long as we can comply to the new normal, right? I believe everyone can be safe traveling again.
Okay, we should hold it and we should highlight on it.
Right.
Okay, thank you, sir, for having me again in Bobo.
Thank you for coming to Bobo.
Thank you, and good luck for Bobo.
Okay, thank you.
So that's all my today's coverage. Hopefully it can be beneficial and become additional information and references for you. So return to Clara at the studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fajar Wayong, for your coverage. And stay tuned to Market Headlines, because we will be right back after this quick break.
Senang sekali saya David San Ovo dan dapat hadir menemani Anda dalam program spesial dialog webinar on TV.
Setiap minggunya kita akan membahas tema-tema yang sangat menarik. Apa kabar ibu-ibu sekalian?
Alhamdulillah baik.
Salah satu ambisi daripada Kementerian Koperasi dan UMKM bersama Spesko adalah operasi keren, baru, digital, gitu kan, yang kita bisa IT.
Sebetulnya industri hilir itu lokal itu udah siap. Jadi pemerintah juga nggak perlu lagi menarik investor untuk industri hilir. Jadi pemerintah cukup menarik investor untuk industri bahan baku.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. In his annual People's Consultative Assembly speech to Parliament, President Joko Widodo stated that Indonesia must use COVID-19 pandemic momentum to rebuild Southeast Asia's biggest economy. With a traditional outfit from Sabu people in the eastern part of the archipelago, President Joko Widodo delivered a speech regarding economy reboot. By meaning reboot of the economy is by improving food and energy security as well as processing more natural resources in the country. President Joko Widodo put an analogy to make his speech more relatable to the moment. This time, President put current economic conditions as a computer crash often causing stagnations, and this is very relatable to Indonesia's condition, along with other countries, that what Indonesia must do is to shut down, restart, and reboot. The government expects the economy to post near flat growth in the year due to COVID-19 pandemic.
which has infected over 132,000 people and caused nearly 6,000 deaths, as the highest death toll in Southeast Asia. From all sources for IDX Channel.
And yes, viewers, in order to support national economy recovery, government will enhance people's business credit program. In the near time, layoff victims and housewives can get credit with the 0% rate up to the end of the year.
Government ensures that layoff victims who want to begin new business will get assistance from government through Super Micro People Business Credit. Given credit will be in a zero rate up to December 2020. In a virtual press conference, Macroeconomic Coordination's Deputy Iskandar Simorangkir stated that the government will give a credit for 10 million rupiah in maximum. There are several requirements for having the facility. The beneficiaries should have already run a business. If the layoff victims don't have a business yet, then they have to make a new business and run it for 3 months first. And of course, government aim for those who haven't gotten people business credit facility yet.
Pada saat COVID, pemerintah ingin supaya pengusaha-pengusaha baru yang lahir dari pekerja PHK dan ibu rumah tangga ini bisa berkelanjutan melakukan usahanya, maka itu ini tetap berlangsung, ya. Jadi selama masa COVID kita berikan 0% suku bunganya, tetapi nanti sesudah reguler, sesudah tanggal 31 Desember, 6% sama seperti suku bunga KUR yang berlaku saat ini. Kemudian berapa maksimum kredit yang diberikan? Itu 10 juta.
Funds prepared for the first stage in 2020 is 12 trillion rupiah with a target of 3 million debtors. Whereas until the end of July, the realizations of people's business credit in general has reached 89 trillion rupiah, which is given to 2.67 million debtors. Jakarta, Rahajo Pakmo for IDX Channel.
Government's ability to avoid economic recessions looks very weak, and this was stated by economic and policy observer that considered economic stimulus was only able to maintain people's purchasing power without boosting economy in the short term.
The government's ability to reverse economy in the third quarter doubted by many parties. Managing Director of Political Economy and Policy Studies, or PEPS, Anthony Budiawan, explains that if we learn from various developed countries in the world, then whatever economic stimulus provided, still unable to avoid the recession gap. Anthony underlined that the global economy is still in crisis, is expected to continue to contract exports and world tourism. Other than that, stimulus will not have an impact on economic growth. Stimulus will only maintain people's purchasing power through social protection.
Faktor eksternal itu resesi global masih berlangsung, di mana ekspor dan pariwisata masih akan tumbuh di Q3. Bagaimana mau meningkatkan ekonomi? Stimulus ekonomi tidak berdampak pada peningkatan ekonomi seperti kita sudah lihat di negara-negara maju. Stimulus hanya menjaga pendapatan masyarakat, yaitu jaringan sosial dan sebagainya. Ditambah Indonesia mempunyai permasalahan akut di mana kebijakan fiskal sangat lemah dan kemampuan fiskal pemerintah sangat lemah, di mana
Another factor is fiscal constraints, which severely limit government's move. The decline in tax revenue makes state budget unable to cover the existing stimulus needs, so that dependence on debt is getting higher. Jakarta, Rahajo Pakmo for IDX Channel.
Batavia Prosperindo Asset Management recorded good performance in terms of asset under management. Based on the latest data of June 2020, company had raised asset under management of 46 trillion rupiah.
Batavia Prosperindo Asset Management successfully managed to record a higher asset under management in June 2020. It increased from April period to be in the number of 46.06 trillion rupiah. President Director of Batavia Prosperindo Asset Management, Prihatmo Hari Mulyanto, explained that June's achievement was a successfully made company to acquire first positions in terms of mutual funds value.
2020 ini kami mengelola 46,2 triliun. Ini menjadi peringkat ke-6 dalam hal total dana kelolaan dan peringkat 1 dalam hal kelolaan dana industri reksadana.
Prihatmo added, in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic conditions, investments manager companies must be able to diversify their products, whereas diversifications must be based on existing asset classes, based on geography and currency. Jakarta, Gilang Praditya for IDX Channel.
In the first half of the year, productions and export of palm oil commodity contracted heavily. Indonesia's Oil Palm Association stated that this is due to rolling impact drought and price crash. The Indonesian Oil Palm Associations, or so-called as GAPKI, reported that half-year productions of crude palm oil and palm kernel oil had declined 9.2% year-on-year to 23.5 million tons. However, interesting part was that head of GAPKI stated that the main cause of the decline in productions wasn't really about COVID-19 pandemic, but rather than the domino effect of the palm oil price crash, which pushed down palm oil cultivations and fertilizer sales. According to GAPKI data, along with the decline in palm oil productions for the first half of 2020, exports fell 11.4% year-on-year to 15.5 million tons, from previously 17.5 million tons. And here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the graphic close of market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic business and capital market channel. I'm Claranta Wijaya. Have a nice evening and stay safe.
Pemirsa, mengawal pelayanan publik Republik Indonesia akan